polar bears, of course you can see like that. But there's the hidden history, how the human being try to get the energy from the Arctic and Antarctic. Because the coal mining, you have seen the work, and this is a whaling site in the Antarctic. With the penguins and seals, you saw the video, but they are almost 100 years ago, they just catch for getting the oil, like a lubricant or like a whale oil for the street light or something like that. So it's quite interesting. So that's why I want to focus on those projects. It's a tank for the whale oils. There is the Iceland. Yeah.
And you know, I'm always struck by the places that you have managed to get to. It's quite extraordinary. So I'm curious. We can talk a little bit about the work in the gallery here right now. We'll spend a few minutes on this. And one of the things that I wanted to ask Han, because of course when I come into the gallery here and I wander around and look at the images, there's a whole bunch of things that grab me. But one of the things that grabs me is about your work is perspective, or essentially sort of how flat your photographs look. And I was curious about this. I was curious because, you know, one of the criticisms about Chinese painting is Chinese painting, you know, from a Westerner, is it has no perspective, which isn't true necessarily. But I was curious about whether there was any equivalent kind of thinking in Korean art and culture about space, about perspective, and if there was, did it influence how you made this work?
Yes, I think actually I grew up Korea, and then Korea is like an Asian culture, because as you mentioned that like Oriental painting, no perspective, and also usually you can see no shadow, because usually Oriental painting we don't put the shadow, because the like a notion of Asian paintings, because the shadow is changed depending on the sun or like light. That's we don't put the light, so that's why I choose the overcast, and then also is no shadow there, and also important to like spaces, like we call the void, because void their meaning was the Oriental painting is void with like a spaces. That is the differences with the Oriental painting and the Western painting. Also, it's different notions how to approach with the object, because for example, like in the human beings, in the nature, Asian thing that is part of nature, but in the Western painting, it's kind of separate object. So I think that is different way, and then I didn't think that when I took a picture of those three, I didn't think about that, but after I found my result, that of course I am very influenced by the Korean culture.
I have a question just to follow up on that. When I looked at this work, I questioned whether there is an intention to transition from representational to abstraction. So based on what you're just saying, if it's a tradition that you are working from, is there an intention for you to transition your work from representation to abstraction? Because obviously lacking space and perspective is part of the abstraction experience. So is there an intention from you to for some of the works to be more abstract than representation?
So, is it fair to say?
Sure.
So, yeah. I mean, the gentleman's asking about how, you know, on one level, this is a representation, of trees with snow on them. Were you thinking about how you could make them abstract at the same time? Was that part of as you were doing this work, were you thinking about moving from, you know, actual trees on a mountain with snow to something more abstract, moving back and forth? Did that come into consideration?
Yeah, for I want to compress the distance. That's why it's like a technical way. I use a telelens because telelens for the camera is the like a condenser of the distance. I use that one for like a oriental painting. There is no. I told you it's no perspective. Only the way to express depth is like a color density. The front one is it's like a Italian called the stoma, maybe stoma effect. Like and the close one is dark, and then go further light. So I think there is naturally when I took a picture, it depends on distance. So like sometimes foggy, it can be stoma automatically, and use the cameras. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that, you know, this work, given, you know, the work that I've seen in this book and other, this is by far the most abstract seeming work you have done, correct? Like this is, you've really leaned into it. I mean, one of the other things that struck me about these pieces too, in addition to, you know, their flatness, is, I mean, they're beautiful, John. Like they're just gorgeous to look at. You know, congratulations on that. And it's interesting when I stand in front of them. There's a real tension between, you know, the beauty of the image, and then when I think about it, I'm repelled a little bit because I start to understand what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the extreme effects of climate change. Were you thinking about that tension as you were making the pictures? Wanting to get something as beautiful as possible, but also knowing that you were showing something that is really difficult to look at? Did you think about that?
Can you?
Yeah.
what-
Sorry, I complicated question. Yeah, I'll summarize.
Very complex.
Yeah. So for me, there's just an interesting interaction when I look at the picture. I think it's really beautiful,
Yeah.
but I also am kind of repelled by the image because of the subject
the
matter.
subject matter.
Yeah. Were you thinking about that as you were making it?
Yeah, when I actually my attitude to take picture because artists recreate the reality. I mean, I just mentioned briefly that everybody think about the wildfire with palm trees and palm tree with smoke. Yeah, of course I can make it, but for the role of artist can give a more metaphor, and I want to the audience to pay attention to work, think more, because the artwork, in my opinion, good artwork all the time change the notion, like a conceptual art. So that's why I want to show that kind of effect like oriental painting, but I want people think of behind the word, the image behind. So this makes sense. Yeah.
Are there any questions? Yes.
Some of them, I wonder, were you photographing through a drone, or were you on another mountain?
Yeah, everybody think there's true, but I just climb.
You climbed
Oh,
a
you
mountain.
climbed the mountain.
Okay.
So was it physically a lot of work to make these photos?
For heads.
Good for your That's a good answer. Yeah. Somebody else have a question?
I'm actually curious. I'm noticing in a lot of these pictures there's like this really beautiful arrangement of just like shape, line, and texture. And I'm just curious, when you are taking these photographs, I know you're using like these, like you're mentioning you're using a telephoto lens. Are you able to comprehend like those fine, like textural details, like what we see in the final image, or is that something that you see after the fact and you're kind of surprised?
So Brandon, if I'm understanding correctly, is that you're wondering whether is he seeing the detail as he's taking the picture, or is he only seeing the detail afterwards?
Well, just kind of. So like, cause like some like those really like fine, just like those smaller trees, it almost is like mark making, right? And I'm just wondering, when you're looking through your lens, like, is that something that you're even noticing, or is that something that you kind of notice after the fact? But also like, they feel like they're kind of coming from a history of like painting or something, and like just in the sense of like the arrangement of textures and where the dark and light shapes are meeting. And I'm just curious, when you're making those pictures, is that something that's really standing out in the moment, or is that coming after the fact as well?
So I think it's fair to say. So when you're up on the mountain, you just hike for 45 minutes. You're completely exhausted, and you're looking through your viewfinder at this landscape. Are you seeing all of the detail? Are the arrangements of trees? Are the nature that is hidden? Like I can get up quite close to this picture right now, and I can start to see all sorts of hidden pieces of nature. Is all of that apparent to you when you're taking the picture, or are you only seeing it after you process the picture?
Okay. When I just climb up and take out some rest, and then I just see the or in general view, and then I think which part should I take picture, and then use the cameraman to see the detail, and that should be good for the angles and distance, lenses, and then of course I can't see all detail, but I can see the feeling of kind of final result. So after that I take picture, different view and different angles, and then after that I come back to my studio to select it. So because I can't bring my old big monitors or just think of my feeling. It should be good for now. I try to do check in advance, but not 100%.
Question right here.
I have two questions actually, if that's okay. One is like, what is the process of choosing the pictures that we're seeing? Like, probably I imagine you took lots of pictures when you were in Washington. So if you could talk about like, why did you choose these ones in particular? Like I can see like there's lots of lines, diagonal, like if there's like a theme around or like the decision process of choosing these particular ones, and also if in the process of manipulating, retouching the images that I'm not sure if they are or not, and I don't really care. There's a thought of like kind of making it look like ash, or like that's my perception of it. Like it kind of looks like it's carbon or pencil drawings, like you were saying. Like if that's something you were trying to also communicate in the textures of the photographs, referring to the fires.
Okay, first question.
First question is about your editing process.
Yeah,
So you took a lot of pictures. How did you arrive at these ones?
Okay, before the editing one, I choose the location through the Google, and then because I read our newspaper when the wildfire happened, and choose the locations, and then check the area with the Google map, and I go there, and then take a picture, and then come back and choose the before like depend on whether publication or exhibitions, because I have to think of the spaces for the intro, which like with the compositions, also forming or size or depend on, but it's all different our purposes, like the exhibition of publications. There is first question. Second question was.
So if I understand you correctly, the second question was you were understanding, you wanted to know about what the post-processing was that you did on the pictures.
Okay.
And whether you were looking to, I mean, as you pointed out, and I think all of us have sort of seen is, it looks like mark making on images. Did you try and accentuate or manipulate manipulate that in any sort of way?
Actually, not. But I used the raw file. It's kind of technical one. Raw file is not definition of the line. But I usually keep the because I use many different exposure, and then I try to keep from the original. But after the overcast and then snow cover is very flat like that. So I didn't do so much post production. Anyway, so I went to pictures. I took many different angles, many different exposure, the way. So after that, I choose the image and the image, choosing the image for the exhibition. Think about the spacing, then size and composition.
But you wouldn't have been interested in a picture that was taken on a sunny day, correct? Or were you?
I took some of in the sunny day, but you can see the shadow. Shadow, I don't think it's too strong. And then, because it blends with the real trees and shadow is mixed together, it's not tight. It's not clearly see the landscape. That's why I choose the overcast weather.
Any other questions?
I just had a question about the timing of this. Like, is this one fateful hike, or how many days were you on the mountain? Like, do you do a lot of pre-work to determine which locations you want to return to, or what's your process of determining location?
So how long take time to go do a project?
And how do you figure out where to go and how many times you go
Yeah.
and so on and so forth?
I told you that first of all I research because it happened the wildfire in Jasper in 2022, and then I saw the news and then where it is, and then I researched and I also checked the weather, is snow or not, because I very important the snow cover, and after that couple of days I tried to go there, take picture and also check the weather, whether it's overcast or sunny day, something like that. But on those pictures, I can take pictures only few seconds, but for the research is quite a long time. So I do the project pre-research and go, and then if it's not enough result, I just revisit and take more pictures. But even though similar condition or weather condition, it's different results. So I try to do many times to take pictures of the same location, and I choose from those images the best one.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, Sandra, please.
What is the Korean word again for the way everything is flat and straight in Korean and Asian painting? Is it related to a specific word that means just no shadow? Was there a word?
Yeah, is there a Korean word or phrase for, painting or a picture which is flat without any shadow? Is there a concept, a Korean concept about that? Yeah, just I think she was just wondering whether is there a particular word or phrase for this kind of work, for flat, without any shadow, without the appearance of depth.
Yeah, there is the typical word of winter painting to express the depth. There's a 보원법 and 심원법 but it's not common law. And but generally, we express it's somehow is connected with the Italian way of the painting because stomach with Italian like cross one down. So the distance like a line. They kind of oriental painting way.
Right. Well, in Western, the abstract expression has a bit of a flatter is called the undifferentiated plane, which meant no perspective, just flat. So that's the term that Western art historians have used in the past. I don't know if that's changing anymore, but that's, so I'm just saying, I think, there's a relationship in what you're saying. I just didn't know if there was some phrase to that reference. Even though you explained it to me wonderfully, I loved it, the way you know, chose its lines, really. The weather, chest leather, snow, just to make it expensive, really expensive.
I think there is not only oriental painting way because even though many the masters, European masters or Canada masters, all the time check the weather and then see how the modern nature is changed depends on the weather. So it's the same way, same procedure. Like even though that is oriental painting artist or like a European or Canadian artist. The same procedure because the whole landscape change depends the weather and temperatures and snow cover all different. So artists can have to choose for the landscape, choose the proper time, proper locations, proper angles. It's quite important.
So I think that's probably a good place to wrap up because it gives everybody a chance to take a walk around the gallery here. Han will be around, so if you have any questions that you want to ask him directly, please do. And thank you very much, you.
Can you go back to the last picture, please? I just want to make a quick comment. So you all know that if you own an art gallery, we all complain about the fact that people don't come as often as they used to, and everybody's looking at things on Instagram and they wanted it. We didn't have a long time to calibrate this television, but look at the difference between. So when people say to us, "Oh, I saw your show," and you say, "Well, I didn't see you at the gallery, but they saw it online." Sometimes they're looking at something that looks like that that's completely different from what is actually in the gallery. So it's just something I had to say. But I wanted to thank both Han and Sungpil and David Christian